was reported. Mike LaFleur, after being let go as the offensive coordinator of the Jets, will be hired as the new OC of the LA Rams. Also a report that 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans has emerged as the favorite to be the next head coach of the Houston Texans. Big weekend of college hoops in this state. The SEC Big 12 Challenge taking place. The only matchup of ranked teams will be in Knoxville. Fourth-ranked Texas fourth-ranked Tennessee hosts 10th-ranked Texas. Vol Network coverage starts at 4:30 for this 5 p.m. tip-off. Vanderbilt will keep it in conference play. They head to Texas A&M. That is a 7:30 tip. And the Belmont Bruins looking for their 8th consecutive win, hosting Drake at the Curb Center Sunday at 2 p.m. It is championship weekend in the NFL. Sunday in the NFC, Niners at Eagles at 2 p.m. Following that game, Bengals and Chiefs will face off in the AFC Championship at 5:30 in Kansas City. You can hear both games right here on The Zone, courtesy of Westwood One. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 Zone. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to everybody out there. It's Friday. I hope you're just...
It's Friday!
Yeah. I hope
Gotta go. Oh, where am I streaming?
It's 102 on a Friday. I hope y'all aren't even doing anything anymore. Just listening to the radio, being unproductive. The sun's out. I mean,
I'm ready to party to the tardy now, man.
44 degrees or something like that, so just go revel in it. Just live it up. Live it up. All right, yesterday...
You party animal, you.
We're going off the air. You know me. I mean, Friday to me is just, it's time to just take it to the next level. So we're getting ready to go off the air yesterday, and I'm like, I got a couple of guys I've been thinking about. One has been mentioned before, but the other one I haven't seen mentioned. OC job for the thing.
Oh, OC. Okay.
So we got Jim Nagy coming up, and we're going to talk to him at 1:20, and he's the executive director of the Senior Bowl. So I'm going to ask him, pull out the files of Blaine's scouting reports from that week and go down the file cabinet down the hall.
I don't think he was there at the time. I think he was a pro scout for the Seahawks at the time.
So I'm going to see if he can go down to the hallway. There's probably like an old file cabinet there, and it's got files, in there from past guys.
Oh, I know what he's going to tell you that I ran into the goalpost.
Now, do you think he knows about that? Because I know you've told me about it before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely no. That was, what do you call that? That was people are still talking about that today.
This was against the missile,
this
right?
Ding dong.
Kadri is
right. This ding dong ready to go. Yeah, that was, because I hurt my shoulder pretty bad.
What did people do when you hit the goalpost?
Act like it didn't happen.
Oh, you acted like it didn't happen.
Well, I did initially, and then I was like, walking to the side, I was like, I don't know, because it knocked me down with force. So I walked to the sideline. I was like, I don't know, man. I think I'm pretty good, but I don't know.
Take us through the play. Like, how did you get there?
I was running the fastest I ever been in my life. So I was guarding. I was like, oh, man, I get to go out guard. And I've been guarding him all week. So this was towards the end of the week. I think it was maybe a Thursday. And Teague, George Teague from Alabama, they won the national championship. He was hardly ever there. And we had practice twice a day. So me and another guy was kind of rotating. And he was like, man, I'm exhausted. I'm not doing any more reps, man. I was like, well, I'm doing all the reps I can. I'm doing as many as I can. He's like, all right, go ahead, go out there against the missile. I said, oh, I'm good to go. I've been guarding the missile all week. What are you talking about? Well, he took off, and I'm trying to play press because I was like, hey, man, I got to get my hands on it. For
people who don't know, you're still playing corner at this point.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I play corner. And so I was like, if I don't get my hands on this guy, I'm going to be in a foot race, and I don't want to be in no foot race like that. So I want to get my hands on him. I'll get my hands on him. We're going to be even Steven. And so, barely got my hands on him. So next thing you know, we're running. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm on my giddy up. I'm on my cowboy bow-legged Lou. Let's go. And he was running. I was like, uh-oh, he got like a half step. This is not good. I said, I'm about to turn on my afterburners. And I said, I got to go pull it out of me. And I pulled it out, and I could not stop. I mean, I ran straight in the goalpost, but, one thing I was sure of, he wasn't going to catch that ball.
You get a PBU or anything before that happened? Or they just no throw. You had him covered up.
No, I think they threw to him. I think they overthrew him. But I'll turn on some Afterbone. I was like, oh, man, I got to go watch this tape. I'd never ran that fast before in my life.
Who were the quarterbacks that week?
I want to say Trent Green. Yeah, that's how I know Trent. Naturally playing at IU, too, as well. I'm trying to think who the other quarterback was on our team. Ooh, I'm not sure. I know Trent Green threw that ball, though. So that's why I was very familiar with Trent Green and his career. And even, he comes down every year for Kevin Carter's a foundation and charity event there. So here in Nashville. So that's always good to reconnect. So, yeah, that was it. I don't know if he'll know. I would assume that he knows, though, because in the Senior Bowl, the actual game, early in the game, and I'm going to say early, maybe first, second quarter, it was before halftime for sure, I got hit on that shoulder, and I didn't play the rest of the game. I never said that part, but, yeah. Because I was like holding my arm, and I was like, hey, dude, I can't be playing out here like that. And then I had practice all week, and everything was about practice for the Senior Bowl and not the actual game. So there you have it. The fun in the Sun story. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Nagy. Look, you ask him. You ask him. I won't ask him.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of archive of something down there that he ought to be able to pull out a little bit. I
think that's why they felt sorry for me. So they said we'll at least put him in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame, and since he ran into the goalpost and he did a heck of a job, and then he tried to play in the game and all.
Did you guys go back and watch film at the end of the day, like pro practice, and everybody see you hit the?
No.
Okay. No, there was nothing like that.
No, we had some really good corners too with Teague. Had I think Ray Buchanan was in it because we both had Cardinals on the helmet. So I was like, I think they're getting you confused with me and me confused with you. And I said this, but I'm better than you. No, I didn't say that. He went third round. I did not.
Right? That was his Cardinal.
Yep. No, we were joking. We were really cool, so it was kind of funny, So yeah, he went high. He was he was a lot looser than me. Well, I would say that. But everything else were about the same. So yeah, it was fun time. I was excited. I was pumped up, man. Right now I was gassed up. But the Senior Bowl, to show that I went to Ball State, Arkansas State, all the schools like that, I felt like I was representing every school to show, especially back, we're talking about in 1993, to show that I belonged and that I knew I belonged. There was no doubt in my mind. And, so it was fun. I do remember this. Brad Hopkins. Brad Hopkins was on my team, and they were doing a one-on-one blocking drill. He was so nasty. Everybody on the field stopped to watch him block.
Whoa.
And it was like, who the heck is this guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, he goes to, Illinois. And I don't know where he was rated before, but he wasn't rated a first-round pick. It was pretty clear. So the practice was stopped for us to watch them do one-on-ones and Brad Hopkins mauling people. I mean, it was something to watch. And I'm talking about it was some real good players that he was mauling. I was like, whoa, this dude. And then we ended up on the same team.
Right.
And that's how we became roommates there our rookie year. Because then, naturally being, from the Midwest, we kind of connected. Everything's about, the South is way better than, you guys can't play ball out there, we're in the Midwest.
Well, you told me you got off the bus, all the Alabama players, and people were shaking their hand and putting money in it.
Yeah, they were. And I was like, I thought it was the Senior Bowl people. It was the alumni for Alabama. I was like, where's my money?
No Ball State alums down there.
Yeah, no. First of all, they said, you didn't go to Alabama. I was like, oh, this is for Alabama? I thought they were giving us per diem. I was like, crap, dang it. Hey, man, I needed everything I needed. I made to go back and, fix a tire on my Renault Encore.
Did you talk to the Titans or Oilers? Did you talk to the Oilers? Did you remember, like, that week talking to C.O. Bricado or somebody?
I do not. My head was spinning. At that time, it was a little different. You would sit at tables and you would talk to numerous, and we would move. The players would move to the different tables. And so, I know I talked to the Oilers, but I wasn't sure they were going to draft me or anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
You've told me that before.
No, I have no idea. I would have picked. I can't even remember back that far, but I would have picked probably 3 other teams. I thought Steelers. They asked me a crazy question. Yeah, do you smoke marijuana? I said, huh? They said that's a yes. Then you should have just said no immediately. I'm like, ooh. I said, I can say that I had one time, but I don't smoke, and I was being honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think they thought I was lying. Yeah, I think they did.
Did you take a whiz quiz while you were there?
Oh, that could I would have. Yeah, you do all of that. There.
Yeah, so
no. You do that at the combine.
Okay, I was going to say they
yeah,
could look at your pee test and know that you didn't do that.
I didn't do any drugs or any. I didn't. Yeah, I was clean laced still. Yeah.
Because every year there's like dudes at the combine who test positive,
and that's insane.
And
to
everybody
me.
Tells them, "Hey, man, don't smoke any weed before you go to the combine."
Yeah, I was clean. I didn't even. This is how serious I was. So just for reference, you're in college, and I know you don't drink. I didn't even drink my last 2 years of college. That's when they told me I had a chance to make the NFL, and 15 teams were here to watch me my sophomore year at Ball State, going into my junior year. I said, well, I'm about to show them that I'm the real deal, and I'm going to take this serious because I'm going to get one opportunity. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get one opportunity, and I'm not going to blow this opportunity. I never had another. I go to all the parties, and I'm holding a glass with water in it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Red cup full of water.
Or cranberry.
Oh,
straight clean. Yeah, didn't ever. Nope. They were like, dang, man. Then it was funny. Then now I'm standing there watching everybody. I was like, man, look at how silly these people acting.
Welcome to my life. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't real fun.
Oh, you told me once, like, you get in the car and people about to smoke some weed. Let me out.
Oh, yeah, that did happen.
Let me out.
Oh, I should have told you that. Yeah, I got in the car and I was like, oh, man, I'm going to the combine. And they were smoking, weed. And I was like, and it's pouring down, snowing. And I go for like 2 minutes, maybe longer than that, maybe 5 minutes. I'm squeezed up in the corner because it was a lot of us in there. It was like 5 people. And I'm squeezed in the corner like, oh, man, I'm going to put this over my nose and I'm going to cover myself up. And then it just got to the person sitting next to me had it. I was like, hey, stop the car. I got to get out. It's like, what are you doing? I said, I can't be getting in the car with y'all, man. I can't. I will walk. They said, you going to walk in the snow? Yes. I am getting out. I will walk back to my house. I walked back. Yeah, I did, man. I was serious.
Did those dudes think you're crazy, man?
No, they was like, man, Blaine is super focused. I was like, no, I'm not gonna have no excuse to be blamed. No, let me out. I was like, so you won't get it from college? Yes, I will. Like out. They let me out. I'm in the back seat. Back to you, fold the chair down, seat down, get out. Yeah, man, I was up out of here. I was like, whew. Yeah. But I didn't like being around smoke anyway. Just any kind of smoke, cigarettes, whatever it was. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're about to
funny.
About to
all that craziness out.
Blow our way through an interview here with
wrong for that.
Jim Nagy. He's the executive director of the Senior Bowl. We are going to ask him to go down the hall and get the film on Blaine Bishop from his visit there. We'll see what we can find out.
Just
about
me
the
running to the
Hitman
goalpost.
and some modern guys who are trying to get drafted next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Time to break down some Senior Bowl participants and more with you. Let's get to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Jim Nagy joins us now, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. Not only does he have access to all these great players, he's got a giant bowl of candy in his office, as I understand.
Oh, some Reese's.
He joins us now. Jim, how in the world are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
no, you got to ask him about, me and the goalpost.
Let's start with this. Our own Blaine Bishop, in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame, a Senior Bowl participant, has told off on himself about covering Qadri Ismail in the practice sessions. He thinks it was maybe a Thursday, running faster than he had ever run, not being able to stop and hitting the goalpost. Now, I would like to know, is there a video of this running on a loop in the Senior Bowl headquarters there in beautiful Mobile,
Right.
Alabama?
Do you even remember that or no, because you weren't working there at the time? But
I'm not trying to date you, Blaine. I mean, we're about the same age, but
Right.
I wasn't. That was a couple of years before me.
Right.
And certainly, I mean, a couple of years before I got into the NFL as a scout, and certainly way before I took over here at Speedball. But we can look through the archives. We've got a lot of old tape upstairs, so we might have to dig through that.
I don't know if I could go back to 93. They might have just kind of erased those by now. Yeah, that was hilarious. I read it. Yeah, it was not fun. But yeah, that was the fastest I ever run. I said I told you I could run with the missile.
The missile. That's
Yeah,
right. The rocket,
Quadri.
the missile.
Yeah, the rocket and the missile. I got the brother, but he wasn't rocket, but he was the missile from Syracuse. He ended up playing for the Ravens, so I got to play him again.
Yeah, unfortunately, that Ravens bunch, we saw too much of them in those days. So let's start with this, Jim. I saw you printed out there was a video that you guys had tweeted out. You printed over 4,000 credentials. For anybody who ever doubts that anything connected with the NFL is huge, look no further than this event that's pretty much starts off the offseason. 4,000 plus credentials for the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Yeah, it's a big lift. It's a heavy lift, especially. We've tried to add a lot to the week. We've really tried to build the week out, and a lot of that, the origins of that, happened on a trip I had up to Nashville for the draft coverage I was doing with ESPN that year that the crew rolled into Nashville. You guys did it great up there. You had adult beverages flowing and free concerts, and so we have a Mardi Gras parade now because Mobile is not many people. Everyone thinks New Orleans, but Mobile is the original home of Mardi Gras. So we've got a Mardi Gras parade with our players. It actually overlaps with the first actual Mardi Gras parade of the year. So they're expecting 60 to 100,000 people downtown Mobile on Friday night for that. We've got a Nelly concert that we put on free for the city rolling after the Mardi Gras parade. We've got a big event on Thursday night, Senior Bowl Summit with, last year it was a bunch of college coaches led by Nick Saban. This year it's a stage divided with, a play on the, you guys probably have a lot of Kentucky and Tennessee house divided flags and Vandy and Tennessee flags up there. Mm-hmm. It's a night with the Auburn and Alabama legends. So it's like Ozzie Newsome, Sean Alexander, Cornelius Bennett, Ronnie Brown, on and on. Great lineup. So we built it out, and it's gotten bigger and bigger. And yeah, we broke 4,000, and we just broke 1,000 in the media. Just 1,000 media members too. So this thing just keeps building on itself.
Well, speaking of all those thousands of media guys going to be there, where are some of great recommendations to go eat there in Mobile? yeah, I know you got some on the top of the docket there, right?
Man, Mobile's a good food town. There's no doubt. I mean, everyone that comes down here from the NFL always wants to hit the seafood spots, right? Because we're right here on the Gulf of Mexico. So there's a lot of good fried fish down here, a lot of good fried shrimp. There's some places on the causeway down here, Ed's Seafood Shack and Felix's Fish Camp and the Bluegill, all those places. And then downtown, there's a lot of really cool independently owned restaurants, really good spots. This is you're going to gain weight probably if you come down here for the Senior Bowl. You're going to pack on some pounds.
Well, you got Wenzel's just down the street from you guys there in downtown Mobile. Jim Nagy hanging out with us, executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Well, naturally, Jim, I'm going to start off with asking, tell us about some of the small school, and I want to say small school, I'm just saying not, a Power 5 school, some players that have been invited and talk a little bit about them and what position they play.
Well, last year we had Cole Strange down here from Tennessee Chat, which
Yeah.
is up there by you guys, and he came down here as a 4th or 5th rounder and ended up going in the first round of the Patriots. Had a huge week. His line mate, the other guard, McClendon Curtis from Tennessee Chat's down here. We've got, for the first time ever, we have 2 kids from the same Division II school in the Senior Bowl the same year. We added a lineman from Shepherd University yesterday, which is a D2 school in West Virginia. They made the D2 semis this year, and we already had their quarterback, Tyson Badgett. He was the only sub FBS quarterback that our staff had graded draftable grades on, and the league did as well. He's going to be the first Division II quarterback drafted since '99. Chris Greason, all the way back there. So those are some. We've always got a North Dakota State guy, it seems like, and Cody Mauk is that guy this year. Cody's going to be a top 50 pick. I really think he'll end up being. I think he'll be a first-round pick when it's all said and done. So yeah, it seems like we always have a North Dakota State guy or two, but that's just a few of them.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big part. That's a big part of what the Senior Bowl is all about. Is our small school guys really come down here and take advantage of the platform against the Big Ten guys and the SEC guys. And, this year we got Princeton. We haven't had an Ivy Leaguer in my 5 years. He's our first. It's a receiver named Andre Yoshivas. His nickname is the Flying Hawaiian. He's a receiver. He's the NCAA heptathlon champion. So we're talking about a big-time athlete. So, yeah, those are just a few.
We'll talk a little bit about the North Dakota State kid. I guess he's offensive lineman as well, and kind of compare him to Dylan Radin, since a lot of our guys here are a little scarred because he hasn't had the success. But offensive lineman, you got to be a little more patient, especially when they're coming from that level, to see if they can succeed in this league. So kind of take us through a little bit about comparables between him and Dylan.
Yeah, you got to be patient with offensive linemen. I know we had a kid my first year down here, Caleb McGarry from Washington, who went in the first round of the Falcons. And after the first couple of years, I mean, Falcons fans were getting ready to run that guy out of town. And, just talking to guys around the league, he had an unbelievable year this year in his 4th year, and he's going to break the bank in free agency. So just be patient. I'll say this about Dylan. He was a left tackle at North Dakota State, and immediately with Taylor one there, they moved him over to the right side. They put him at guard. Like that's it seems easy, right? They're both tackles, but it's a lot harder. Some guys just struggle making that transition. So I'd be patient. I'd say this: I think Cody's maybe a hair better athletically. Cody was a 220-pound tight end coming out of high school, and he's one of those kids that just kept growing and growing. He does some stuff that makes you rewind the tape when he gets out in space and downfield. I mean, it's really fun to watch, and he's similar to Dylan in that he's a really nasty kid. And going up to Fargo to give him his invite this year, we do some hand delivered invites for the small school guys, and the guys on the staff, they're like, yeah, Dylan finished people and he had some nastiness, but like Cody really wants to hurt people. Like, so he's going to be one of the talks of the. He's got a great personality. He's got this long red hair. He looks like he just jumped off a Viking ship, and he's got his 2 front teeth knocked out. This kid is like, he's something else now. You'll love. He's got a ton of personality. Like I said, I'll be mildly surprised if he doesn't make it into the first round when it's all said and done by April.
Well, 2 more linemen. I want to ask about the skill guys, and both of these guys were affiliated with Tennessee. One who's now graduated, Darnell Wright, as well as Wanye Moore, started off at Tennessee, then transferred to Oklahoma. Kind of talk a little bit about both of these guys, because naturally the Titans need to fix their offensive line. Let's see what you got going there at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Rand Carthon's gonna rebuild that thing. They did a good job in San Francisco with that group, but yeah. The cool thing is those guys are teammates again, and I haven't talked to either of them about it. I hope they got along when they were at Tennessee.
I think they did.
But they're going to be in the same room again. So a couple things. So Darnell Wright was one of our most improved players at any position across our board. Coming out of the junior tape over the summer, we had late round grades on him. He was playing left tackle, and again, just like what I said about Dylan, sometimes that switch from left to right or right to left, vice versa, can be difficult. They moved Darnell to the right side, and he almost looked like a different player this year. I mean, we went from barely draftable to now we've got him, solidly in the second round. And again, might be the first right tackle taken in this draft. So a lot of credit goes to Darnell. A lot of credit goes to the offensive line coach at Tennessee this year. Did an unbelievable job with him. He made a lot of money that Alabama game against Will Anderson. I mean, he locked him up. So Darnell made a huge jump this year. And then Wanye is the guy that he was on that all-SEC freshman team that freshman year at Tennessee. And he missed the first couple games this year at Oklahoma playing on the right side. But the first game against Nebraska, similar like I said about Cody Mauk, when Wanye Morris gets out in space or has to adjust at the second level, like some of the things he does athletically at his size, you just can't coach that. I mean, he's got some nastiness too. Sometimes the really good athletes don't have that in them.
Very true.
And there was plenty of snaps where when he gets a chance, like he'll slam people, he'll roll guys up at the second level. He's really a left tackle athlete. Like he played on the right side at Oklahoma because they have Anton Harrison on the left side, who's going to be a high draft pick as well, who came out as a junior. But if you're just projecting guys to the next level, there's only 5 or 6 left tackles in every draft that you feel good about athletically putting him over there. And Wanye is one of those guys. I mean, he could legitimately be a starting NFL left tackle. He's probably not as NFL ready right now as Darnell, but he's got a chance to start in that league for a long time if it all clicks.
Yeah, I saw him doing the splits too, so he's very limber and flexible. One more guy on the offensive line. It's only because he went to my high school, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he went to Alabama. Ekeiyor Jr.
Emil Ekiyor.
Yeah, I know his dad. I don't know.
Yeah,
he went to Cathedral High School in Indianapolis. So I just wanted to see.
Indianapolis guy. So Emil was a really highly regarded center coming out of high school, and he's played guard basically out of necessity at Alabama. Just they've needed him there. So he's a big, thick, dense guy. He's good coming off the ball. He's got some snap in his body to move people. The thing is for him when he gets out in space, unlike Wanye Morris and unlike Cody, like the more space he gets out in, the less effective he is.
Right.
So we're going to play him a lot at center. Coach Saban actually called the office out. I thought I was getting called to the principal's office on something when Coach Saban calls, but he actually just wanted to see if we could play Emil at center, and that's going to be the plan. We're going to play him a lot at center during the week and let the team see that. But good player. That tight offense, they've cranked out a bunch of pros, and he's more of a day 3 guy. I think he's more of in that fifth round range. But it'll be interesting to see what he looks like at center.
We're on with Jim Nagy, Executive Director of the Reese's Senior Bowl.
So, Jim, everybody's got, Brock Purdy type value on their mind now. And I was looking through this list of quarterbacks and, the guys who you've got. And one dude, and Blaine would tell you, I watch every football game all day, all night that I can find. So I stayed up late and watched some West Coast football. I'm super intrigued by Jake Haener.
And you should be. I'm excited to see Jake. This is going to be the first year in 7 years where we won't have a first-round quarterback. Will Levis is still coming off a toe. He's got a broken toe. I think, they thought it was a turf toe. It's actually a broken toe. And he's throwing, but he's not throwing how he wants to be on that foot. So we kind of took it up to the last minute with his agents about him playing in the game, and he's just not going to be able to do it. So, but the cool thing about this group that I'm excited about is all our quarterbacks, where our grades at and where the league's grades are at, they're all bunched up in that 4th, 5th round area. And that's where Jalen Hurts was. If you just go back 3 years ago, Jalen came here as a 4th or 5th round pick for everybody in the league. I even had some people in the media asking me if we were going to play Jalen at running back that week. So, he went in the 2nd round, and now in hindsight, Jalen was way underdrafted. If we redrafted that 2021 draft, Jalen would be a top 5 pick. But so it'll be interesting to see who elevates. Jake Haener is highly competitive, highly confident. You can talk to this guy for 30 seconds and feel his confidence. He's not the biggest guy. He's 6 foot, kind of Drew Brees-ish size, but sees it, feels it, really knows how to play quarterback. He's accurate, and he's got that gamer quality. You get in a tight game late in the game, you want this guy with the ball in his hands. He's going to drive you down the field. So I think he's going to have a huge week. And I just spoke to him a couple days ago, and he's chomping at the bit. He knows a lot of people haven't seen him. A lot of people don't stay up late night for the West Coast games. So he feels like this is going to be kind of his spotlight game.
All right, Mike Vrabel said the Titans need to get faster. I want fast people. Blaine likes very complete wide receivers, not just fast or not just. So who are the fast but also complete wide receivers we got to keep our eyes on down there?
Yeah, I think the fast. I mean, I brought up Yoshivas from Princeton, and with the track background, he's got the NCAA record for heptathletes in the 60 meter.
Oh, wow.
Not all 60 meters, but he can really go. Another named Trey Palmer from Nebraska had a monster year for the Cornhuskers. He was a former 4-star kid, was at LSU up until this past year, went up to Nebraska, and he was kind of a part-time player at LSU, and then just blew it out of the water this year for Nebraska. And his dad actually called me after he accepted the invite, and he was telling me that he thinks Trey's going to run 4.18, 4.19.
Ooh, what?
And I said, Mr. Palmer, I said, I'm not doubting you, but I've been doing this scouting thing for 25 years.
Nobody has done that.
I've never looked down at my stopwatch at a 4.1 anything. So, but even if even if he hits like low 4.3s, that's still blazing. So no, he's really fast. And then if you just look for like a combination of size and speed, it would be Elijah Higgins from Stanford. Elijah's a little bit of a tweener. He's 6'3", 235, so he's more of that F tight end, big wide receiver body, but he's a mismatch. There was a long, like 80-yard touchdown his junior year against UCLA that on their GPS stuff at Stanford, he was like high 22 miles per hour, which is for a guy 235 pounds is absolutely rolling. So there's going to be plenty of speed. We got some little fast guys. The fastest guy I saw on tape all year, any position, was Darius Davis, who's a little slot receiver from TCU. He's going to be an excellent punt returner at the next level, and he has
11,
different speed. Yeah, 11. He looks different on tape. I mean, and it's a lot of gadget stuff. They'll run a lot of jet sweep stuff and quick hitters to him to get him the ball. But no, I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level punt returner, and the juice is something serious. Like if that guy touches in the 4.2s, it'll actually surprise me if Darius Davis doesn't touch in the 4.2s at the combine.
Man, I love this stuff. Jim Nagy, who gets to do all this stuff all the time at Jim Nagy _SB, Executive Director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, our guest on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Jim, I know. I thought I saw Hendon Hooker is going to be down. I know he's injured, so I just don't recall ever us having injured players there. Is that kind of something that's changed or evolved to get to this, or have you been doing it and I just missed it?
No, man, it's a one-off. It's a total one-off. We don't want to make a habit of bringing injured players here because then, we did it during the COVID year. So I'll say that. We brought like Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. There was a couple guys that COVID year, but we only did it because we were the only show in town that year. The combine canceled. None of the other all-star games happened. Even at pro days that year, the teams could go, but they could time the players, but there was a distance limitation. They couldn't get face-to-face. They couldn't sit down with them. So for these guys that had already accepted invites, like, Devontae and Landon, I just was trying to do the right thing, right? Like, they wanted to play in the game. They got hurt in the college football playoff. So we brought them down, and they took full advantage of the interview process. But, what I learned was the very next year, agents were saying, well, can my guy come and just interview? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But with quarterbacks, it's a little different. The classroom time is so important. The interview time is so important. And really, when I say one-off, it's about Hendon Hooker. This guy is a special guy. I think that he's, found a special place in the hearts of most Vol fans for where he had that football team. He was truly one of the faces of college football this year. And I was up there in August to speak to the team and meet with the seniors. And man, people just love this guy, and he deserves it. He had a heck of a year. He moved himself up from like that 4th, 5th round area to prior to the injury. Most teams had him on day 2. He was in mostly second thirds. So he's going to come down. He's excited about it. Going to go through the week and sit in meetings and learn the playbook and support his teammates and go through the interview process and meet with all 32 teams. And we're excited to get Hendon down here. I did tell him, I said, man, just be ready for that NFL Network and ESPN cameras to be grabbing on you during practice since you're the only guy standing around without pads on. So he will, I think Hendon will get a lot of FaceTime during the week.
What about, I guess, going back to another Tennessee player, Byron Young, number 6 there. He's got some juice to him off the get off. Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of juice. He's training over in Pensacola, which is only about an hour to our east, and we had a little community service day, kids camp over there the other day. So got to meet Byron for the first time. He actually came over the week before that to watch tape in my office. I wasn't there. I wasn't here that day. He's trying to get a jump on watching tape on all the tackles he's going to be going against. But he made a nice jump this year. You watch the junior tape, and what stood out was he was really cool mover. He could really bend and dip, and so he was really good at playing on the move, rushing on the move off twists, and and things like that. So, playing off other people and getting skinny and sliding through gaps and doing all that stuff. And then this year, you started to see him win more one-on-one, which was what you wanted to see. And again, that's going to make the one-on-one stuff so big down here because he's a really rocked up, good-looking kid. I know you guys have seen him. Most guys that are all muscled up like that don't move the way he moves. Yeah. This kid he's really loose. So no, I think he's going to have a big week down here.
Jim, next week all the fun gets started. We'll be watching and keeping track of everything and just hanging on everything that happens down there. That's for sure at the Reising Senior Bowl.
Yeah, before we let you go, I guess name a couple corners, that way the Titans could be kind of looking out for them when they're down there. I guess that you wanted to mention, maybe 3 corners or so that you like their skill set and they're highly rated.
Yeah, big, long group now. I mean, Julius Brents from Kansas State is a legit 6'3", 6'4". He's got the longest wingspan of any corner since the league started doing wingspans about 15 years ago. Caillou Blue Kelly, you probably played in the league with his dad, Brian Kelly, the former Buccaneer safety who was back there with John Lynch on all those great Tampa defenses. So in terms of like length and athleticism and movement, Caillou's going to be one of the best guys in this draft. And the other guy, he's kind of a nickel safety, is Jay Ward from LSU. He'd been a safety. They played him at nickel this year, and I think he's going to be one of the best nickels in the league when he gets up there. He's really got a feel for playing in there, and he's super aggressive and physical for a DB. So really fun player to watch. So those are 3 if they're looking to shore up some of that stuff. I know they got a great one out of Mobile last year in Roger McCreary. He had a great rookie year, and I know the Titans are fired up about him. But those are a few names that you could add back there that would upgrade that roster.
Cool. Well, we'll be watching all of them for sure. Jim, thanks for the time today. We know it's a busy time of year for you, and look forward to chatting again soon, hopefully.
Have fun next week.
Yeah, all right, guys. Thanks for having me back on. See you, Blaine.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim.
Jim Nagy, at Jim Nagy _SB, Executive Director of the Reising Senior Bowl. Player arrivals, and the game is next week. We'll be watching. All right, when we come back, we'll talk some more draft prospects. I think we're going to drag Rhett Bryan in here, find out who he is specifically looking at when he goes to Mobile next week. That's next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. So Jim Nagy is in Mobile at the big Reese Cup waiting for all the players to get there. He's also waiting for Rhett Bryan to get there, the executive producer. We're going from the executive director of the Senior Bowl to the executive producer. There's a lot of executives coming through here right now, but we were talking to Rhett earlier. He's like, I'm going down there, man. And we were like, okay, you need to come tell us who you're watching. Because we told Jim who we were watching, so who are you watching?
Yeah, I want to
All
get
right,
into
so
the weeds, man. I could go all day.
And I didn't. Did you guys ask? I didn't catch all of your interview with Jim Nagy. Did you ask him about Tyree Wilson, the edge pass rusher from Texas Tech? Because he had an ankle injury late in the year, and I'm curious to see if he practices because this guy is supposed to be one of the best pass rushers in this class. I've seen mocks that have him in the top 10. He's like 6'6", 265, 270.
Okay. I was going to ask
legit.
Coach Mack say he's got some sand in his britches.
He does have some sand in his
What
britches.
school you say he was?
The kid from Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, Tyree Wilson. Okay.
Obviously, I'm watching offensive line because we know that's going to be a point of emphasis with the Titans. Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse is a tackle that they're watching. I think he's going to get work at guard and tackle because he's a little undersized with that. He's like 6'4". McClendon Curtis from Chattanooga, 6'6", 328.
Yeah, I like him. I seen him live twice.
Okay.
6'6",
Legit.
Yeah.
Everything. And I called Jim immediately during the season when I was down there. I was down there actually watching some kids on the other team.
Okay.
I'm friends with their parents. And so I met them there. One was Wolford and the other one, I forgot what the other team was. But anyway, so he looked every bit of an NFL player.
Yeah.
I said, hey, Jim, have y'all heard of this Curtis? He said, oh, yeah, he's on our radar. Called Jim immediately. He said, man, you should be scouting. I said, hey, man, this guy here looks different. Now, I know it's at that level, but I asked him at the time, what should I be looking for if I'm looking for a player at the FCS level? He says he should just jump off the film, without even knowing who you're supposed to be watching.
He should be a man among boys,
and that's exactly
right?
what happened there live.
Well, and hey, Cole Strange ends up being a dang first-round pick
That's
of the
what he said, what he
Patriots
talked
last
about.
year.
Yeah.
So
They had a
but
good
yeah,
running back, too.
absolutely. Darius Rush, the corner from South Carolina, converted wide receiver. He's 6'2", 206. Right. Watching that for sure. Obviously, from Tennessee, Darnell Wright, probably one of the better right tackle prospects in the draft. They think I heard Jim Nagy in an interview a couple of weeks ago. He said we had mid-round grades on him to begin with. He said he's like day 2, maybe the first right tackle taken.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he said today. We asked him because I wanted to ask about the UT guys and offensive line.
Yeah, and Byron Young, I'm going to be watching him. There is a mammoth offensive lineman from Ohio State, Daewon Jones, 6'8", 358, I think. He could stand to lose a little bit. But he is a mammoth offensive
the other guy's not going to be there. The Paris John or whatever his name is.
No. Paris Johnson Jr., no. And he'll probably be the first left tackle taken if things trend that way. But Daewon Jones, who is going to be there, has my attention just because he is an enormous human being. John Michael Schmitz, or as Coach Mack and I are always starting to say, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Oh, Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah, and I think he is maybe the best center prospect in this. He's an interior offensive lineman. Derek Hall is a nice pass rusher from Auburn. Isaiah Foskey, obviously, from Notre Dame, is somebody to watch. There is a big, long safety that's there that reminds me, that kid Tariq Woolen.
Me, long.
Well, of course.
I'm long.
Tariq Woolen, the kid who had such a great year for the Seahawks, who's real big, 6'4".
Oh, but he plays corner.
He's a corner. Mm-hmm. Well, this guy's a safety from Boise State, J.L. Skinner, who's 6'4", 2 and change, who they say is kind of something else. Receivers in this, Rashee Rice from SMU, who wasn't asked to do a whole lot and has a more limited route tree, but 6'2", at 2,600 yards or something this last
Blaine,
2 years.
I watched that guy's tape last night. That dude.
Rashee Rice?
Yeah, that's what
he is the contested catch man of men.
We had 96 catches and 10 touchdowns.
I think 95 of those he had to do all over him. Because I watched him all
he's
last
good
night.
at combat catching, as Coach Mack calls it.
Now, as Coach Mack would also say there's a little gadget fast guy named Nathaniel Dell from Houston who's going to be there. Those two guys are going to pop in these practices. There's a defensive lineman from Ohio State I'm watching named Zach Harrison, who is an edge guy. He's 6'6", 270. Not quite as bendy, but just a big, big dude. And, of course, there's Dylan Horton from TCU, Coach Max Frog, who had, he had 4 quarterback sacks against Michigan. Obviously, Wanye Morris, who, Jim Nagy raved about. There's a tight end from Oregon State, Luke Musgrave. There's a guard from Florida, Osiris Torrance.
Who was originally with Louisiana Lafayette.
That's correct.
Went with his coach.
That's right.
He stepped right up in the big
Any cornerbacks?
Yeah, there's some corners. Darius Rush is the one I was talking about that was really had my attention.
Oh, from South Carolina. Oh, no, all 3 of those guys from South Carolina, I'll be down with any of those guys.
Sure.
I know only one's going to be there, but, I like what I saw against Tennessee.
There's an edge rusher from
They
Army.
turned out corners.
That edge rusher from Army, Andre Carter, 6'7", 260.
Which he had to jump through some hoops to even.
And due to recent legislation that President Biden got through, he can actually play ball.
Yeah, they had told him no, which
Literally.
is unbelievable. I mean, I know he made a commitment to his country to go there, but a lot of those guys have been able to play ball and then go and serve everything. So he's going to get to do that too, it looks like.
Yep.
I got a curveball for you.
Go.
Or are we going to be watching any kickers? They do have kickers. I just saw right.
They do have specialists. I know one thing they're not going to be looking for is a punter.
Oh, right.
They've got one of those.
There's a couple kickers
but yeah,
that's
a valid question though.
Yeah.
It is.
We don't know what's going to happen with the kicking.
We don't. That's right. There's a lot of things I don't think we know what's going to happen with, and we're gonna kind of wait and see how this develops. There's some D tackles in this thing that I think are interesting too. Now, this guy is not as athletic as Vita Vea, but the kid from Baylor, Siake Ika, he is a space-eating dude. Now, again, he doesn't have the explosion that Vita Vea does, but you're going to see him. You're going to have him mentioned in conversation in this. And hey, how about this? You don't have Bijan Robinson down there because he's maybe the first running back taken. But his backup at Texas, Roshan Johnson, take a look at that guy's film. He may be the best backup running back in the country.
That's how you know you go to a big school when your backups even go to the Senior Bowl.
And that dude's a hoss.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what'd you think about Eric Gray? Because I wanted to ask him about I really loved him at Tennessee, and then when he got to Oklahoma, it looked like he got a little more rocked up. Well,
yes, he did. He had, 1,366 yards on the ground after kind of an off year in 2021. Yeah, he is certainly somebody I have circled.
Ooh, his start and stop is
All right. Lucas is in our ear. He says we got to get to hour 2.
Got to break.
Well,
Tell Rhett to shut up.
Yeah, I know. He's telling us we got to break, so we'll do that. Rhett will be down there. I'm sure we'll hear from Rhett next week.
Yeah, we'll check in with you guys. Absolutely.
Coach Mack, our boots on the ground in Mobile and forks on the plate as they eat seafood down there, too. All right. Hour number 2 coming up about 23 minutes from Buck Reising if you're so inclined. Also, I teased this yesterday. I'll pay it off next. Couple of offensive coordinator candidates that are currently not available but will be. Want to put those names out there next.
Yeah, Rhett's going to help us.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. You sat in the studio the whole time in the break between hours and just ask Rhett Bryan more draft questions.
And none of us know anything. We ain't seen a player yet alive and in action, but Rhett will.
We found some fourth-string running backs that we're very excited about and more. All right, so let me ask you guys this. So news out today, right before we do the show, Mike LaFleur is getting the OC job with the Rams. So if I'm not mistaken, I've heard different people say different numbers. I think that leaves 7 teams that are looking for an OC now.
That sounds right.
It was 10.
We can't count.
And then the Patriots got their guy, and then LaFleur, and then yesterday, the Jets hired
Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett. So there were 10, the best I could tell.
And then there were 7.
3 days ago. And a domino has fallen each day. So I keep thinking about, okay, how are we here on the OC? Rhett Bryan hanging out with Blaine and Mickey, executive producer of Titans Radio. Blaine and me are the executive producer of each other. Lucas Panzica. So I keep thinking, okay, there's got to be multiple theories. And without getting into all the theories, one of my theories, I'll get into all the theories later, is maybe you're waiting on somebody. Because there was a report. They were trying to interview Eric Bieniemy. And I almost said Jim Nagy because he was on with us, but the other Nagy. Matt Nagy, that they were that they had reached out to them, or they're still playing. So then that got me thinking, who else is still playing? That it wouldn't be a lateral move; it would be a play calling move. If they want to elevate somebody to play caller, that's what they want to do. If they want,
do they have a stadium in San Jose?
If they want to reach in, one of them does.
Okay, who y'all thinking?
It's a pair of pants, the big 501s.
The 501s,
yeah, like
Levi's.
the big ketchup bottle, the big Levi's.
Okay.
So
can they fit in them?
So I started looking around. This guy could fit in him because he is a baby face. Both of these guys are 35. Just happens to be a coincidence.
Okay.
One is Brian Johnson, who's the Eagles quarterbacks coach. Now, SEC fans are like, didn't that guy used to call plays at Florida? He did.
Or he was the lead singer of AC/DC.
100%.
One of the two.
He was there's the same name.
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, not the lead singer of AC/DC, but
that's the first thing came to mind.
100%. I know it did. So this is a different way. This guy wants to shake you all night long with his play calls. Brian Johnson is the Eagles quarterback coach. He's been there 2 years, was Florida Gators OC for 3 years before that. He's interviewed with the Jets and the Rams, who have coincidentally both been teams who've hired their guy. So he wasn't their guy. He's 35. He also called plays for the Houston Cougars for a year. So he's interesting to me. Here's the other guy. And I found him by accident. I was watching the interview with Dan Orlovsky. And he was naming okay, here's the guy, and this is the guys that are about to start getting their name called.
I like Dan. He's pretty good.
Me too. He mentioned this guy, Bobby Slowick. And I'm like, Bobby Slowick?
Who that?
Dad was a coach. I think has coached even in Canada for the last few years, coached in the NFL. He is also 35. He looks 17.
And you say he's their quarterback's coach?
He
with
is
San Fran?
He's in his 10th year in the NFL.
Oh, okay, San Fran.
He's the offensive passing game coordinator for the 49ers. And then I used to Google search everything, but now I just Twitter search. Because if you Twitter search anything, you immediately get 1,000 opinions on. Nobody just puts somebody's name.
That's true.
This guy sucks, and here's his name. This guy's great. Here's his name. So Bobby Slowick's name keeps coming up. Well, then I find the interview again with Dan Orlovsky and other people. He's about to be, I think, one of those guys that everybody's like, let's interview this guy. I think he's 1 year away from that. But if anybody would know him well as anybody, it would be Rand Carthon. I know this guy.
There, boy. I like it. I like what you're doing.
Mickey is drawing lines from point A to point B without a detour.
Because,
I like this.
And this is kind of what led me to this. I mean, you want to be associated with good teams, and people want play callers, and they want people who are associated with good teams. All 4 teams left in the playoffs are top 8 in the NFL in total offense. Kansas City and Cincinnati are way more pass than rush. The Chiefs are first in passing offense, 20th in rush. The Bengals are 5th in passing offense, 29th in rush. Philly is top 10 in both.
I'm going to say this. The reason why? All the head coaches are play callers and offensive driven. Yep. So when everybody talks about defense, I keep saying I love defense, but the times have changed. There's a reason why these 4 teams are here. We could talk about how good their defenses are, but their play calling, and most of them, the head coaches are calling the plays. We don't know how much Andy Reid's calling the plays, but he's definitely a part of that whole equation. We know the head coach of the Eagles is calling plays. We know Shanahan's calling plays, right? So, yeah, and then we know the Bengals head coach is calling plays, Mr. Taylor. Yeah. So, yeah, this is offense dribbling. So if you pick someone from them, I think, you may be on the right track. Maybe a little vanilla as far as not having a lot of experience calling plays and how much their role is with the teams they're with, but I would be open to all of that.
But Slowick, for your example, Rand Carthon's going to know Slowick.
Yeah.
And of the three things that is rolling around in my head from Mike Vrabel's closing presser to finish the season, he talked about injuries. He talked about needing to get faster. And what's the other thing? He doubled down on it and said it again with Rand Carthon's presser a week ago about we've got to score more points. We have to be better in the red zone. 17 points a game ain't going to get it, basically. So
I'm hoping maybe it's one of these guys that's on these staffs, and maybe that's why he's not getting interviews or maybe no announcement. Let's just say that.
Right, and that's what I'm going by is that, hey, we didn't know that they did any second-round interviews with general managers till it was already decided that, and then they came out and said, yep, he was, Mike Vrabel was a part of that process in the second rounds, and they just kind of went, did their own thing. We don't know how many people they've interviewed or not or whatever, and I'm sure they've interviewed somebody.
Because Vrabel said they've interviewed multiple people, and, but he didn't go into detail naturally of if it was OC, O-line, or what have you. So I'm a little concerned on the O-line, though, and maybe that's coincidence in that, you're waiting for your OC to match up with the O-line because O-line, man, is a very valuable position in the National Football League, especially when you're talking about a team that wants to be a run, physically dominant team.
Who's the O-line coach with the 49ers? If Slowick came, would he just bring whoever that is?
Well, he has to make him somebody got to get another title, like assistant.
Make him
run game coordinator or something, man.
Like the Jets
bump up
just
that
did
pay. To make him leave San Fran?
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, man, you make way more money here in Tennessee than you do in San Fran.
By the way, how you speaking of that, did you see where Jerry Jones is basically paying Dan Quinn
to stay
a head coach salary type thing?
I didn't know he changed his salary. I saw that he was staying and he announced it, no more interviews, I'm staying in Dallas.
And I think as a result of that, I think Jerry Jones is saying, good, you made my defense really good, and I'm going to pay you basically like a head coach to stay here and keep doing that.
Good for him.
And, of course, when you're Jerry Jones, you got long, deep pockets, you can do that. How good are these conference championship games going to be on Sunday? I mean, that dang Eagles 49ers game's going to be off the hook, man.
I hope it is.
Don't disappoint me.
I want to see Brock Purdy just keep it going, make it a great game. I don't want the Eagles to bamboozle him or anything. I just want it to be a great game.
What do you think the keys in this thing? What's something that stands out that could? Because the Eagles haven't shown a lot of dents in the armor all season. I mean, does it come down to does Nick Bosa and their group? Do they disrupt Jalen Hurts where he turns the ball over, and maybe that's the difference? Because in the games that they lost, that was kind of the thing, and that hadn't happened a whole lot.
The only thing about the Eagles is they early in the season, it was the run game that they were giving up running on the defense.
Ran it down their throat.
Yes. And then they kind of sewed that up a little bit. They signed some veteran guys. Sue was one of them.
Right.
Then they got the young kid from Georgia back, but I think turnovers is actually going to be the key, as you kind of mentioned. I think because they're so evenly matched. Right. And when you look at the rankings, 1 and 2 on offense and defense, they are neck
and Hurts has done it so well dealing from back there.
Who you got? You got to tell us your prediction, at least in the NFC.
Golly, man, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm thinking Eagles, but honestly, I think it could go either way.
I know Mickey just went with Brock Purdy, so I'm going with the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yep.
Well,
I'm picking Eagles versus the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And I've been riding the Bengals for a while now, and Joe Burrow, after he put a whooping on us this season, I said,
and
strong.
I wouldn't disagree with the Bengals part, and I'm going to double down just on the fact that we know that Mahomes has a dinged up wheel, a high ankle sprain.
Whatever.
And that
I don't
is-
know if it's high ankle. I just know ankle. I don't,
Right.
man, he out there. I don't know what the heck.
And you know he's going to go and he's going to try to do everything. But if he's limited with that, making those off-schedule plays, now it's down to what you guys do. You rush 4 and cover with 7 and rock and roll, because that has been the formula to beating Patrick Mahomes. The Titans have done it a couple of years ago. When you go get after him and get him in a rush, that's when he can burn you. But can he burn you on a wheel that's questionable?
That's why I'm going with the Bengals, because I think he's
Yes.
not going to be as mobile. Now he's going to manipulate the pocket, but I'm talking about running down the field. If he starts running downfield and making plays and that ankle's not, now it's a whole different story. But
it
I don't think
absolutely
he will
is.
be able to do
and
that.
I like the way on offense that the Bengals, the Bills had no answer for Joe Mixon and that offensive line. Right. They just kept running 7, 8 yards, first down.
Nice run
I mean,
game
they had no answer for that. I like that. If they can get them into that rhythm and get Kansas City out of their stuff, I think
Kansas
the
City
Bengals
run the
could
ball
be
a little
there.
bit more too in this game and see if Andy can do it, because he really doesn't want to run the football. Yeah,
And that's a conundrum, too, because they've gone back and forth between Edwards-Helaire and then Isaiah Pacheco, who I like.
Yeah, from Rutgers, yeah.
Bigger back.
Yeah,
So,
7th round guy, right? Was he 7th round?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get. Enjoy your trip to Mobile.
Will do.
I'll send you food recommendations. So
Thank
spend a lot
you.
of time
And
down there.
I will check in with you guys during the show next week. Be looking forward to talking to you and kind of talking about what we've seen so far.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Thank you, Bart Scott.
All right, we can't wait for Buck Reising. He will join us next.
We can't.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Hanging out on a Friday. That means sometimes we have Buck Reising on. We will today. He joins us today. Buck's a busy man. He trots the globe.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, he didn't
time
have
to
a,
head
he
down
didn't
to
have a
Mobile.
haircut. Yeah, he didn't have a haircut appointment today.
Yeah, so he's going to join us now. And as he joins us now, Buck Reising, I'll ask you, do you know this song and what album it's on? Lucas Panziga says he won't know it, but I'm going to have some
definitely
faith
don't
in
know.
you.
Oh, I have no idea what that was.
You're worse than me, huh? Oh, my.
Rumors.
That would be Rumors by Fleetwood
Somebody
Mac,
gonna
Buck.
tell me?
Yeah, it was
Rumors.
Rumors by
Fleetwood Mac?
Fleetwood Mac. Yes, not Groomers, but Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, my. Watch this.
Well,
Who dat?
I feel like what's the Cranberry Ocean Spray TikTok Fleetwood song that kind of brought them back into the public consciousness? That one I have down.
No, that brought them into your consciousness. Everybody else knew who Fleetwood Mac was
It's
before
sold about
TikTok.
25 million copies of
And
Rumors.
you're talking
but
about the song Dreams.
yes,
Buck.
but if, a guy drinking cranberry juice, if that's what introduced Fleetwood Mac to you, whatever gets it done. I mean, they'll cash those checks.
Oh, my.
Listen, I know that guy's name. His name is Dogface. He got a sponsorship deal out of that. Good for him.
All
Still
right.
talking about TikTok.
Okay. Well, on from TikTok to TikTok Titans. Let's talk to Buck Reising. He is brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, home of the non-commissioned salespeople. That is Two Rivers. So, Rand Carthon, he's been here, a week or so now? I guess 1 week since he was announced and had his press conference. That was a week ago Friday. What do you think his days are like? What are his days comprised of right now? What's he working on, Buck?
Well, hell, it better be a top to bottom roster evaluation at this stage of the game. And I take him at his word that the first thing that he wants to, focus in on is Mike Vrabel and his relationship with Mike Vrabel, because obviously Mike's carrying a little more metaphorical weight these days, given the way that the John Robinson tenure ended. And Rand Carthon, at his introductory press conference, as I'm sure you two remember well, was talking about the idea of, well, I'm here first and foremost to see what's here, and then to provide what insight I can to try and improve upon the current situation. So improving upon the current situation, first and foremost, involves improving the roster. So I would hope it starts with Ryan Tannehill and the quarterback position specifically, and works its way on down to the offensive line and everything else that this team has to figure out, particularly on that side of the ball.
So I know you had a reporter on from Fox, and she wrote about Aaron Rodgers and what his future might be and what that looks like. And you guys got to rabbit holing on some things, and her name escapes me, but I'll let you say her name. But where do you think we are in this town about another quarterback, maybe besides Ryan Tannehill, will be taking the snaps next year?
So Carmen Vitale is the reporter at Fox Sports. She's the NFC North version of Ben Arthur, who serves the same function for us down here in the AFC South. It's difficult for me to imagine that right now, not knowing where Ryan Tannehill is in his rehabilitation process. I think any moving on from Ryan Tannehill would require them to physically move Ryan Tannehill. Now, I know his post-June 1st salary cap hit goes down substantially, whereas they would have to eat $18 million on the front end. It goes down, I believe, to about $7 million post-June 1st. But obviously, that is taking a pretty substantial risk if you do want to move on the quarterback circumstance, because by then I feel like a lot of the dominoes, a lot of the, what's musical chairs, a lot of the chairs would have been taken up with people who are also exploring alternatives at the quarterback position. So right now it's difficult for me to imagine a circumstance where it's not Ryan Tannehill, but of course, everything gets a lot more interesting with Tom Brady. I think Aaron Rodgers, I'm $60 million in cash and a north of $30 million, I think it's $38 million cap hit for Rodgers would be difficult to stomach, given that that's what they just dealt with Tannehill this year. But Lamar Jackson's circumstance is fascinating because it seems like things are very much trending towards him getting tagged and then traded.
Buck Reising, we'll tag him, and I'll trade this to Blaine Bishop and let him ask some questions.
Well, I have to ask you, what's the latest on the OC search? Where do you think the Titans are at, and as well as who are some of the guys maybe they've interviewed that we don't know of? And are we waiting until some of these guys finish in the playoffs? I don't know. I'm lost here.
Well, Blaine, listen, this is as tight-lipped an organization as any in the NFL right now because you don't see anything out there. Since I believe the last time we talked about this a week ago. I do think that the idea that people on the Chiefs coaching staff, Matt Nagy in particular, is interesting, given that they are still in the postseason. I think that's the reason, like guys like Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, hasn't really moved much further in the interview process as far as like head coaches. You see a lot of different conversations about the Eagles OC as well for similar roles, but at this point, I think the longer this thing goes on without much discussion about other candidates, I just think it's trending towards Tim Kelly the further that this thing keeps going without any sign of different candidates that they're interviewing because there's just been nothing since the Broncos OC.
Now, how do you perceive there's been nothing? Now, you can say one thing as a coach, but for there not to be nothing from other agents of their clients is really odd to me. And so do you think this is a tactic maybe that Vrabel is using and that, we run out of candidates and then so we're left with here, Mr. Kelly?
Well, and that's the thing, right, Blaine? Like, it's not even about the organization. It's that you're not getting anything leaked from agents.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think like kind of to go back to the Lamar Jackson conversation, you don't see anything leaked out there about Lamar because he doesn't have an agent to leak things, right?
Right.
So we know that how big, at least, for people, and I know the audience, the vast majority of the audience doesn't necessarily hone in on the agency side of things, but that's really what makes this world go round. Mm-hmm. And so for that to be as tight-lipped as the organization is, either they have a very, very small pool that they are interviewing from initially, which is tough to imagine, but they have to be on the second round of interviews by now. There's no way that they would be able to keep a lid essentially on the agents on top of being tight-lipped themselves. So I do think it's a more selective process than maybe people might want them to have, maybe not quite as expansive as we know the general manager search was, because that stuff was all over the place. And where do you think that people find out that, the Tennessee Titans have requested to interview Rand Carthon or Ian Cunningham from the Bears? That's, on behalf of the people who are representing Ian Cunningham and Rand Carthon and the other general manager candidates that were out there. So it leads me to the conclusion, Blaine, that it's probably a much closer to the best type of search than I think Titans fans would envision given the amount of names out there.
Are there two different searches? When I say that, I'm talking about one was led by the organization, one is led by Mike Vrabel. So maybe there's two different, philosophies in their search when you're talking about the organization for a GM. So that leads me to where are we at with the O-line? And this is a very valuable position, especially when you're a run-dominant team or want to be physical. I saw Carter got hired there by the Jets as the run game coordinator and the O-line coach. But, man, I feel uncomfortable. I'm cool with the OC, but I feel like we got to be making moves with this O-line coach.
Well, and some teams do it counterintuitively, right? But prior to the Panthers hiring Frank Reich yesterday, I believe, right as you guys came on the air, they were interviewing defensive coordinator candidates, which of course seems nonsensical that you would be interviewing DCs before you have a head coach in place.
Yeah, that was odd.
It's not. Now they do have Mike Sullivan on staff, and I know we talked a little bit about him last week, so there is some semblance of continuity there. He's been the assistant to Keith Carter for several years. Whether or not they end up promoting that position internally remains to be seen, but it's not like they're completely rudderless right now with Mike Sullivan rather available to them to kind of keep things flowing with that position group. But listen, if they go with an OC and the OC decides that Mike Sullivan's not the guy, then how much time have you wasted trying to plan and prepare and working with all the different scouting staffs and things of that nature to try and figure out exactly what kind of player you want? Because Skoronski from Northwestern and Paris Johnson Jr., the left tackle from Ohio State, they are both considered plug-and-play players. But there is a difference. Like Skoronski, the thing about him is the same discussion that was had around the left tackle for the Bengals that came out of Alabama a couple of years ago. He's not very long, and that matters at that position. Each scouting staff and what Rand Carthon's scouting manual, now that he's with the Tennessee Titans, looks like specifically, I don't know, but they're going to have prototypical measurements and size and length requirements for players at that position, as most NFL scouting staffs do. So, I'm with you, Blaine. The longer that this thing goes, it's just a domino effect. So you're risking a lot in letting this thing play out. But I guess if you're looking for any kind of, maybe not the worst thing in the world, there's 8 other NFL teams that are in the same situation with an OC or a head coach that needs to be figured out as we get closer and closer to the Senior Bowl, where in a perfect world, all of this stuff would be done by then when we all get down to Mobile on, Tuesday at the latest.
No doubt about it. We're on with Buck Reising from the Buck Reising Show.
So, Buck, you are going to the Senior Bowl. I know you're making your prep for the trip. Who are some names of some prospects that you think, no matter what, I'm going to get a look at this guy?
Oh, definitely the two tackles. I'm more interested. I know that's not sexy, but the offensive line is the thing that's
it is
a fascination to me. I just think that matters so much more than this wide receiver class, because it's not discussed in the same terms as it has been in years past with the wide receivers. We know as the specialization for those players has gotten more and more, quarterbacks and wide receivers, that you see a lot more talent in these draft classes as they work their way through things like 7-on-7 and through their college careers and ultimately up to their pro opportunities. But those two names that I mentioned in particular, those are the two guys who I know that I'm going to spend time watching this next weekend.
What's going on you're in Blaine's home state of Indianapolis, and more specifically Blaine's hometown of Indy. What in the world are they doing with this coaching search?
Oh, I don't think anybody knows until Jim Irsay gets involved.
Is he going to show up for the interviews?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he wasn't a part of the first round, Blaine, so, why even do them? Because he's just going to do what he wants. What are they doing, having him not involved in the first round of interviews and then saying, okay, we have 7 guys that are going to make it to the second round, and now the owner's going to be involved? Well, the owner is going to have that big of a pool because he wants to talk to these dudes. So why are you wasting everybody's time this way? Jim Irsay is going to do what Jim Irsay wants to do, whether that's Jeff Saturday or not. Beats the bleep out of me. But I just think that they are such a rudderless organization right now. And if they go with the Jeff Saturday thing, as it seems like it's trending towards, I just can't imagine what kind of domino effect, what kind of effect that would have on morale for the coaches who are currently on staff and looking around and be like, are you kidding me with this? Again, we already did this. We saw how it worked. It didn't work. Can we not get a little more creative, or at least have a little more open-mindedness about this? And, if nothing else, they've got a variety to pick from. But if they ultimately just go back to Irsay's guy, then I just think it's such a clown show operation right now. And that's not something that you would associate with the Colts. But I don't know that Irsay's ever been as meddlesome as he has been in the last, season and a half, I guess, at this point.
Mm. Buck Reising meddling with our show right now, telling us all kinds of stuff on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, outside of offensive line, what position groups, I'm going to say cornerback or receiver, which is more, I guess, second tier as far as behind the old line that you think the Titans need to address? Because Fulton's contract is up after this season coming up as well. So do you extend him? What are your thoughts here from wide receiver to cornerback? What would be your focus if you draft a O-lineman first or sign an O-line free agent? Where do you go next if you were the Titans?
No, oh my God, beyond Fulton, they need another corner. The Farley thing, okay. I don't trust that dude. And listen, and that sounds probably harsh.
No, it is what it is.
You know what? That's what it is, Blaine. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that he's taking he's expressing a very focused, mindset and approach, and, I'm going to block out all the outside noise, but he's doing it on his Instagram page where, of course, people are going to interact with it, see it, post it other places, comment on it, which can't be good for a person like that psyche in the position that he's in. Corner is a critical need. But honestly, we don't talk about defensive line depth a lot because they've got Jeff and they've got Harold, who is based on everything that I've heard is very much on track as far as his ACL recovery is concerned. Danico Autry's in the last year of his deal, and Rashad Weaver is a fine player, but he's, I think, rotational at best. There's nothing to say that he can't improve, but what I saw last year was not something that indicated to me that they can just move on from Bud Dupree and roll with that guy as a permanent fixture on the edge. And Danico's health is something that is going to be considered, and he's in his 30s at this point. Knee injuries were what knocked him out of all of training camp and certainly the better part of the second half of the season. I think defensive line depth is critical because we know what that 2020 defensive line looked like with Jeff and with Harold, and it wasn't near good enough. They need to have options, and corner is important. They showed you as much by drafting Roger McCreary when they did last year in the second round, which I think was them signaling to everybody else, hey, the Farley thing, I don't know right now. Even as we all, I think at the time, looked at it as a bit of a luxury pick. I think defensive line depth is something that really, really needs to be talked about more, and something that they need to be at a point where they're re-upping on it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So then that made me think about this. It's something, just a theory. Would you bring Bud Dupree back for a, cap-friendly Tennessee Titan deal? Let's say veteran minimum with a lot of incentives, and if you produce, you play, you get paid. Not sure if he would go for that, but would you consider that if you were the Titans organization?
Bud makes a difference when he's out there. It's just, it's almost like another version of the Lewan conversation, right? He's just not available. He's just flatly not available. He is an impact player and has been throughout the course of his career, but they're getting a significantly limited amount of production and snaps, and then by result production from a guy that they gave a hell of a lot of money to, Blaine, north of $80
Well, that's why I said
million.
league minimum for incentives, because guess what? You're in a conundrum. Landry's coming off ACL. Weaver's not a starter, as you just said. He's a rotational guy. So where are we? Autry is in the last year of his deal. So you must create depth. So you're either going to sign a veteran for minimum or somewhere there about $3, $4, $5 million, or you're going to draft a guy. You only got so many picks.
Right, and it's not like they're flush with draft capital right now. They're just picking higher than they're used to. Looking at Bud's contract situation. Listen, long story short, I'd consider anybody at league minimum. You know what I'm saying? I'd consider anybody at league minimum with an incentive-based contract. It's a matter, and that's up to the player and his
right?
representation
If you're doing that
on that certain kind of thing. So, yes, to answer your question, I absolutely would. I think Bud does matter for them. That's the whole reason they did it, because they couldn't get it right in the draft prior, beyond what they got from Harold at the time. They were trying to find a variety of different guys on the edge, because before the criticism of John Robinson's offensive line selections came about, it was very much about the inability to find a dominant edge player. And even Harold is their best one, but Harold's not TJ Watt. He's not He's not one of these. He's not Max Crosby. I know Max plays, as a down defensive lineman more, but Harold will put his hand in the dirt from time to time. He's not one of those dudes. So, in the absence of being able to acquire one of those guys, Bud, you can get out from under that contract with a $10 million dead cat. You'd save about $10 million, a little less than $10 million if you cut him and tried to find a way to work around it. The market for him would certainly be different than it was when he was a free agent in 2021. But he's 30 years old, Blaine. He's older than your average second contract player is.
Yeah,
so
but pass rushers, when you're good, you're legit. That 33 is kind of the mark, not actually 30 like you're a running back. Real quick, I guess, call your shot. Give us a shot call before we let you go.
Eagles, Bengals.
Eagles, Bengals. And who you got winning?
No, the Eagles and the Bengals.
I know, winning it all.
Oh, good call.
Are we going to wait for next week?
Well, at that, Yeah, I mean, we could because I'm sure you're going to at the end ask me to call my shot at the end of next week.
No,
too.
I don't know. This is the first time I asked you to call your shot, so I don't know.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all. Don't lie to me, Blaine.
I don't know. I can't remember.
All right, Bucky. Hey, we'll pick this up next week. We'll ask you again. Enjoy your trip to Mobile. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. All right. Come back with a haircut.
See you, boys.
All right. The one and only Buck Reising brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. When we come back, it is time to call your shot. You can jump in the Zone TV chat, hit us on Twitter or on the phone, 615-737-1045. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Time to call your shot. Brought to you by Chattanooga Whiskey 91, an award-winning small batch bourbon and the only Tennessee high malt featuring tasting notes of toasted honey and graham cracker. It is a real winner and available at your local retail store. Time to call our shot, gentlemen. Lucas Panzica, we will start with you. Call your shot, amigo.
Man, I've been on this Brock Purdy train for a few weeks now, so I'm just going to stay right on it and say that Brock Purdy becomes the first ever rookie quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. He's the fifth to start a conference championship game.
Oh, wow.
We did this, Blaine and I did last Friday. Mick, I feel like you could name a good majority of the other four if I pose that to you.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
The other
We
four
froze
rookies
them.
to
I've even
start.
seen. I even saw this, and oh my gosh, I even saw this, and I'm having trouble thinking right now.
I don't even
I know Ben Roethlisberger
Yeah.
in year 2 won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he was one of
But
them.
he did start a conference championship game as a rookie.
Okay,
and
so he
lost.
did. Is Mark Sanchez, is
Yep.
that fumble one of them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because his first couple of years,
He was phenomenal.
it's like, what in the
AFC
world?
Championship.
They're going to be great.
back to back, yeah.
And then they weren't great.
He wasn't great.
Dan Marino played in the Super Bowl in year 2 against the 49ers.
Two, yeah.
But-
The other two are Joe Flacco in 2008, the year they beat the Titans here to advance to the AFC Championship, and Sean King, the Bucks, 99.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
I
but
would have never got the shot.
that's my shot. Brock Purdy takes the Niners to the Super Bowl.
I watched Sean King and the Bucks lose that game sitting in the Titan Stadium waiting for Blaine to get back from Jacksonville. They played that Ricky Prohl caught a touchdown and beat him. It was a low-scoring game. But Sean King had been the quarterback of the Tulane team that went undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, he had a nice little run for a minute there.
Yeah, man, it kind of ended abruptly.
It
I'm
did.
like, I don't know what happened. Yeah, Ricky Pro, quality receiver, too, by the way. Great route runner.
Yeah, everybody remembers the other two guys. Ricky
Yeah, everybody
Prohl made some big plays for them.
Yeah, big catches and critical moments. He was kind of the guy, for the third or fourth down critical plays. Actually, he caught winning game touchdowns to get him to the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Yep.
Great underrated player. Mine is the Bengals. The bumbling Bengals from the jungle. Gonna get the Chiefs, Mr. Mahomes, Mr. MVP, for the not one, not two, not three, but for the fourth time in a row, he takes down the Chiefs. My guy's Andy Reid. Hey, man, you guys getting scared in there or something? Yes, I got the bumbling Bengals, the Bengals and the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Now,
Burrowhead Stadium.
Burrowhead said, by the way, did you see the interview with Sean Jones where he left and as he's walking away from the podium, he goes, "See y'all Sunday in Burrowhead Stadium."
No, it's Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Chris
Who did I
Jones.
say?
Yeah, you
Sean
said
Jones.
Sean Jones. It was
like
not
Sean
him.
King.
No, not Sean Jones. Chris Jones said that. Yeah, they imagined it.
What are they calling that? Burrowhead?
Yeah, Hilton of the Bengals, as the game was ending, was like, "See y'all in Burrowhead Stadium," just being silly, and now it has kind of taken on a life of its own. Cousin Danny in the Burrow says, "Bengals by 1 billion. Tell him, Blaine. I'm going to go Bengals. The line on this game keeps moving back and forth. It's what's Kansas City with a point now? Is that right?
Is it?
They're
Because he's practicing now.
Mahomes, yeah.
Mahomes.
so they're back out to a 1-point favorite.
Yeah.
If Burrow can take them back to the Super Bowl and the Bengals get back, Joe Burrow will have been to more Super Bowls as the Bengals quarterback than the Chargers have only been to one, the Titans have only been to one, the Cardinals have only been to one, the Browns, Lions, Texas, and Jags have never been to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow in 3 years will have played in more Super Bowls than all of those franchises, including this one.
Just think of what his path has been. National championship, then Super Bowl. I mean, man, this guy, he's unbelievable.
I think they're going to drive right down and score and just keep it rolling. They feared no man. That's going to be awesome to watch, though, and we're going to be watching. Right now, it's time for us to go because we're going to be listening to 3HL, which is coming up next.
But in the meantime,
In between time,
Burrowhead.
oh, come on.